Hello my beauties and welcome to another sphincter-tickling episode of TechSpurt Weekly, a weekly tech news show possibly enjoyed by big-name celebrities including select members of Shawaddy and whichever chuckle brother isn't actually dead. Now lately, Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra has been the subject of much nerdy online discourse despite the launch still being a few months off. But will this be a worthy upgrade to the spaff-tastic Galaxy S23 Ultra, or just one almighty savings drainer that should be left well alone? Well, let's slip on our snorkels and dive on into Leaky Lake where we'll pluck out the freshest rumour morsels amongst all the floating turds. I'm not gonna lie, I had higher hopes for that metaphor. TechSpurt Weekly! So first up, when will you actually be able to slip your very own Galaxy S24 Ultra into your pants or your bag or wherever you actually have room to stash this massive bastard? Well, Samsung will likely launch the full S24 phone family at the very start of 2024 when we still all reek of cheap booze and massive regret after the double whammy of Christmas and New Year's. I can already feel a preemptive hangover building up behind my eyeballs. So basically you can expect an end of January, start of February kind of launch for the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the phone should hit Blighty a couple of weeks later. As for the price, well, I mean, do you really want to know? Let's just say that if you happen to have any kids, you might want to get them bucked into a dodgy back alley surgery right now so you can get yourself a fat stack of cash for those lovely fresh organs, untarnished by a lifelong abuse of steak bakes and special brew. Now this phone right here, what you're looking at, is the old Galaxy S23 Ultra, although it might as well be the upcoming S24 Ultra because all of the leaks so far show a device that looks remarkably similar. You can once again expect a 6.8-inch display, got a metal frame and a matte glass finish around the arse end, with pokey out camera lenses and not much else to really speak about. That said, the S24 Ultra is said to come with a completely flat display for a change. Again, not really a massive surprise as Sammy has been gradually killing off that curve at the edge of the screen for a good couple of generations now. Hopefully those edges will remain rounded though, rather than going all flat like the iPhone, because frankly Apple's brick is about as pleasant to have in your hand as a warm bag of sick. You'll get the usual S Pen stylus handily stuffed into a bottom orifice on the S24 Ultra, good news for business people. With this nifty tool you can edit business documents by hand, you can scribble down inspirational business quotes that suddenly pop into your head on the tube, or simply chew on one end thoughtfully as you ponder over important business decisions. Like, do we actually need an HR department when all they do is get on my case for groping my own employees? Now for this year's Galaxy S23 Ultra, Samsung mercifully slapped one of Qualcomm's Snapdragon chipsets inside of it rather than one of its own Exynos platforms. Hence it was actually, pretty good. And for a while out there on the internet there were some pretty terrifying rumours that for the S24 Ultra and the S24 phones in general, Samsung was going to go back to Exynos. But don't rush off hunting for your noose or your cyanide just yet, because touch wood, it appears that those rumours might have been, like a lot of stuff on the internet, a massive pile of bollocks. In fact, not so much a pile, actually more of a mountain of fresh gonads. So it looks like Samsung is sticking with Qualcomm, who's launching its new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 flagship platform at the end of October out in Hawaii, aka the best bloody pressed jolly ever. So while we don't know too many techie details just yet, that is the morpho that you can expect to power the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And of course, one of the biggest reasons to upgrade to an Ultra rather than just grabbing yourself, say, the Galaxy S24 Plus, besides the dinky wee pen, is the camera tech. And once again, the Galaxy S24 Ultra should come swaggering in with an almighty package. The 200 megapixel ISOCELL HP2 sensor from the S23 Ultra has apparently been upgraded to an HP2 SX, presumably similar tech but with a few tweaks. This possibly includes an increase to the sensor size for improved low-light photography, but again, the rumours are actually pretty thin on the ground in this case. And for this generation, Samsung is also said to be scrapping the Sony sensors from its alternative lenses, the ultra-wide and the telephoto shooters, and instead going full ISOCELL for the entire range, which should hopefully mean transitioning between the different viewpoints is less jarring. You'll hopefully get identical colour reproduction and saturation levels and everything, no matter whether you're going full on zoom or whether you're pulling back. On the software side, it's Android 14 topped with Samsung's fresh new One UI 6, which is already in beta testing. And this boasts such trouser-rousing features as updated fonts and new emojis. so One UI 6 should provide hours of swipey pokey joy. Cancel your Tinder date, get in that bottle of coffee you really like from Aldi, and make sure you close the curtains because things are about to get raunchy. And while you might already be screaming Samsung take my money, goddammit, at the thought of those new fonts, don't forget that One UI 6 will of course be coming to previous Galaxy S23, S22, etc. smartphones. And from the rest of the leaks and rumours that are circulating online, the rest of the S24 Ultra sounds pretty familiar, nothing particularly nipple tingling. There has been some hot online chat about 2 terabytes of storage being an option this time around. Should be ideal for any content creators or any hentai fans who aren't satisfied unless they're carrying several thousand hours worth of high definition tentacle shenanigans. Apart from that, it's basically looking like the same screen tech, the same stereo speaker setup, the same all love for micro SD memory cards. So is it going to be worth the several kidneys and a spleen you'll likely have to stump up for one? Well, it does seem like the Galaxy S24 Ultra will be a minor evolution of the old S23 Ultra. Unless you're dead set on having the best possible performance and a completely flat display, I'd say definitely stick with what you've got. If you've got an S22 Ultra or an S23 Ultra, especially as Samsung offers years of support for its devices anyway. But we shall see, they might surprise us all and come out with a device that's completely mind-bending and a serious upgrade in all kinds of different crazy ways. I guess we'll find out in a few months' time, assuming we actually survive the holidays stuck in a confined space with our families with nothing but a fridge full of special brew and Iceland finger food to steer us through. But what do you guys reckon? What do you want to see in the Galaxy S24 Ultra? Any special upgrades that might sway you onto buying it? Or could you not give a flying f***? Definitely let us know down in the comments below. And now it's time for the part of the show that is presumably enjoyed by high-class famous folk, including Frank Bruno and whichever chuckle brother actually snuffed it. It's viewer comments. Viewer comments. So let's start up this week with a Michael W. Yuri Michael, hope all is lovely, who says, not only would you have been demonetized in the first 90 seconds, by the end you likely owe YouTube money. Yeah, you'd think so, right? But somehow, don't ask me how, but somehow last week's video, despite being blasphemous and threatening violence on Orlando Bloom all within the first 15-20 seconds, somehow remains monetized. I've no idea what's going on there. Like maybe the YouTube advertising standards Kraken has become more lenient, or else has just given up entirely and just hoping that nobody actually understands the words that are coming out of my mouth. Michael continues, P.S. I know the UK doesn't believe in air conditioners, we just don't frickin' need them, mate. It's like the air is nicely chilled naturally, pretty much the entire frickin' year. But look into making a swamp cooler at least. What now? Hang on, I'm gonna have to Google this because I've never heard of a swamp cooler in my life, either that or I've just drunk away that particular memory. Alright, so apparently a swamp cooler is an evaporative cooler that cools the air through the evaporation of water. So I guess it kind of sprays cool mist on you. I mean, that sounds like it would get a bit moist, like seriously moist. Probably not a good idea with lots of electronics kicking about. Sounds like lots of other people have been a bit hot and bothered recently. So Harold Pastor says, 40 degrees and you're already feeling hot? How about here in the UAE, 50 degrees is normal? Yeah, exactly. Right? It's normal sort of temperature there, even though it's quite extreme. So hopefully you guys are at least like used to it by now. Whereas I'm from Sunderland. I'm absolutely withering in this heat, okay? Up north, the average temperature is, oh Christ, my bollocks have frozen solid and now they're clacking together like an executive office toy. I'm just going to straight up apologise for f***ing up this pronunciation straight away because I know it's going to happen. Krawaj Chomik says, in Poland, the swampy country in the middle of Europe, we have 37 degrees in shade. Christ, the last time I visited Krakow, which admittedly was like February or whatever, it was snowing pretty bloody heavily, and as an added bonus I had a hole in the bottom of my shoe, so I spent the entire week walking around wearing a soggy Tesco bag as a sock. That's pretty much all I remember about Krakow now, other than a bartender absolutely pissing himself laughing at my ridiculous attempts to pronounce Zivek, the beer. I think it's pronounced Zivit. He did try and teach it to me. And the fact that those are my only overriding memories of Krakow isn't to say that it's not a great and memorable place, by the way. I just drank an awful lot of Zivek that weekend in order to get over the fact I had a soggy, wet f***ing foot. Kev J says, here in Texas it's been at 40 degrees centigrade for the last few months. Putrid summer. It kind of sounds like in Texas the weather is absolutely taking the piss. I mean, wasn't the whole of that state just like a frozen tundra just a few months ago? And I've always been very, very tempted to visit Texas, especially because of the awesome barbecues that you guys smash out there. But no, I've got to say, your weather's even more schizo than here in the UK, then I might leave it a bit. Faster says, hello drunk uncle, how are you? I'm bloody lovely, thank you very much for asking. Hope you're having a good one as well. It's no longer 35 degrees here anyway, it's significantly cooled down, so my happy sack has finally peeled away from my inner thigh, and my spine is no longer a drip and sweat trench deploying fresh body gush into my Y-fronts 24 hours a day. So yeah, all in all, things are looking up. And Guantai Tech says your ventriloquism skills are growing. I mean, I'm not really sure you could call it ventriloquism, to be fair, because whenever Mr. Wangsock is talking, I basically just do a zoom cut into my hands. You can't actually see my face. It's a trick that probably wouldn't work too well in front of a live studio audience, but thank you, I accept the compliment. Simon Kirchner says, I think you meant to say that the Xiaomi 14 is set to launch in 2024, not 2025. Bloody Christ, I'm actually forgetting what year we're in already as well. I need another drink. Or maybe less drink. I don't know. No, more drink. Better be safe. More drink. Jason McMeekin says, hey Uncle Spurt, can you ask your Xiaomi contacts when the Redmi Note 10 Pro will get a new security patch update, as I'm running a May the 1st security patch. Unfortunately, yes, the Xiaomi blows far from swift when it comes to those updates. Something that's hopefully going to change, especially now they seem a bit more dedicated towards the software side of things. I mean, they have to be, otherwise they're just going to get left behind, especially when it's, you know, we're talking about flagship smartphones. You can't be f***ing about just giving them, you know, a couple of updates a year. Uncanny Office Chair says, man, I forgot about this channel. I mean, don't worry about it, mate. I've occasionally forgotten my own name. As long as you occasionally remember that I exist and give my videos a click so I get that sweet, sweet ad revenue, it's all gravy. I requested a bit of advice on Genshin Impact last week because I still suck pretty heartily at that game despite the fact I've been playing it for literally years now. As we've got some responses here, Wade says, the floating goblins in Genshin, their shield goes down after 3 heavy shots from Amber's bow. Max out your weapons and have a crit artifact installed. A crit artifact, what is that and how do I do that? And seriously, just pretend like you're trying to walk your granddad through installing a modem in his house or something. I need step-by-step guidance here, preferably in a reassuring and friendly tone. Or even better actually, I just need somebody else to do it for me while I sit in the corner clutching a bottle of whiskey and staring off, thinking of a simpler time when games mostly just involved going up and down and holding your finger on the shoot button. We've got some advice from Jed Bullet as well. Cheers, Jed. He says, Uncle Spurt, you asked how not to suck at Genshin. I have 2 tips. Number 1, don't engage in battle ever. Just run around. It has the advantage of annoying everyone too. And second, refrain from playing, i.e. move on and play something else that's crap and free to play with adverts. Yeah, agreed. Wordle, mate, that's probably about my level these days. Doesn't really properly test out the performance of a smartphone, unfortunately. I gotta admit, I'm quite tempted to give Starfield a shot because it's free on Game Pass. I could get that bad boy downloaded if I've got a spare 3 weeks to get 140 gigs worth of shit crammed down on my home Wi-Fi. But honestly, I already know exactly how it's gonna go. I'm gonna boot it up. I'm gonna not really understand what I'm doing. I'm just gonna wander around for literally an hour just staring at things like I'm a full-on Alzheimer's patient. And then I'm going to get bored and I'm just going to see how many random innocent NPCs I can viciously, violently murder before I finally get taken down by the space police. So, yeah, maybe not. Anyway, next up, lecture video says, Le plus fin de S Pen pour Z Fold intégré dans une coque compacte. Hey, who are you saying's got a coque compact? Pissez-off-vous, alright? Anyway, hang on, apparently that means the thinnest S Pen for Z Fold integrated into a compact shell. So I think this dude wants an S Pen shoved in his Z Fold, which, I mean, yeah, it would be nice, but to be honest, I'd rather use that space just to make a bigger battery. And Wide Speaker says, Windows Vista theme, are you sure you want to do that 100 times a day? It really was the annoyingly overcautious parent of the OS world, wasn't it? Are you really sure? Are you sure? I'm not sure that's a good idea. Maybe just don't, right? The Master 711 says, so you really aren't getting review samples off of Apple, right? No, the only thing Apple ever sends my way is a lot of bad vibes and probably the occasional assassin. Not really, by the way, before Apple's overpaid lawyers get involved. They do metaphorically axe any journalists who don't play ball and give them a straight up 5 stars automatically for all of their overpriced pieces of shiny shit. But as far as I'm aware, they haven't actually resorted to bumping us off in real life. Bang out of time again, so better make this the last one for the week. Tazo Magnatis says, when will you do a review of your feet? I mean, I don't really think it's very fair, like, reviewing a part of my own anatomy feels kind of wrong, like Samsung reviewing one of its own phones or something. But if you want my honest opinion, then fine. I mean, I'd say, for one, they are unusually big. And is it true that old saying about big feet translating to the trouserial department? Well, you'll have to ask your mum for confirmation of that one. They are kind of excessively hairy as well. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, I guess. What the f am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? I don't even know anymore. Yeah, thank you to everyone who commented last week. Great fun, as always. Smashing our way through as many of those as possible, and we'll do the same again next week. And speaking of next week,
this is about next week.
So next week there is an Amazon Devices event taking place in the US on Wednesday the 20th. So you can expect some shiny new Echo gadgetry there, maybe a fresh Kindle or two as well. I haven't seen any of those for a while. And I haven't got any other phone launches or anything down in the old calendar, but there might be some other shenanigans going on as well. So it seems like basically September is mental, so much stuff going on. It's a good thing I've literally got a cupboard just packed full of whiskey and rum and all the good stuff to get me through it. But anyway, yes, please do join us again next week for another thrilling, cracking episode of TechSpert Weekly. And in the meantime, have yourselves a bloody wonderful weekend. Cheers everyone, love you!